breaking news. We want to see what's going on in San Francisco with the man who's standing on the transformers, and they're trying to get him down so that Caltrain can get rolling again there.
Yeah, right now service is stopped, at least at 4th and King. And let's get right to the scene. Cromfor's Michael Thomas has been following the situation. What are you seeing now, Michael?
Well, it's still the same thing we've been seeing all morning. In fact, this gentleman has been up here since 2 o'clock this morning. Take a live look right here. You can see he's now sitting. Earlier, he was standing. He is speaking with negotiators on camera. You can't see that, but down below, there are a handful of people from San Francisco Rescue Squad, the fire department, and the police department that are talking with him. He has gone from standing up, shaking that transformer, to sitting down now, and he continues to kind of just move around, hang on to that pole. You can see him doing that now. Officials have put up that cherry picker with a bucket. They've been asking him to climb into that. He has not done so. He has been talking with them. I cannot hear what he is saying from my standpoint, but I do know that he's using a lot of hand gestures and kind of just pointing out in the general area. Down below, there's probably, I would say, maybe about 3 or 4 dozen or so officials. The electricity at this location here at the Caltrans has been shut off. There is no trains that are running in and out. Caltrans officials are walking actually past me right now to go and speak with those officers that are trying to negotiate with him. As for an update, nobody has come to speak with us as of yet, but there is congestion in this general area. Lots of looky-loos, of course. The man is now standing up. That's probably the first time he stood up in the last 30 to 40 minutes or so that we've seen. But again, he has not really come down at all as to if he is going to, hopefully at some point. The fire department did have an additional fire truck here, but that truck has now left. They also took some ladders with them. But again, as of right now, what they have is that cherry picker. As to how he got up there, we still have no idea. I know Daria and James and I were talking about perhaps he climbed on top of the Caltrain train and then got up. But that's still, you know, up for debate. But there are a lot of, all the Caltrans workers are actually kind of standing around on this street that we're on, just looking.
I do have a question, though, about the logistics of it. I don't know if you can pull out a little bit. You mentioned he could have gotten up on a train. A couple of things. Is there any, like, barrier to walking around there? Like, can anybody get there? There we go. So can anybody just walk into that? It's open. There's no fencing, right?
Well, essentially there is a fencing. So this fence, there's a fence that goes into a parking lot, and then there's a fence between that parking lot and the actual train tracks. So essentially, if somebody wanted to, they could just kind of climb over that fence, and then they would be on the actual train track.
Then he's got to scale the train.
There's not a major barrier.
Right. He's got to, go over the fence, scale the train.
Then he would need to scale the train and climb up the train.
And climb, or just climb up the pole thingy. And how, also, it's hard to tell on TV, like, how high up do you think he is? I'm looking at the story.
He's probably, I would say, about 50 to 60 feet up.
Yeah.
He's got to be at least 50 to 60 feet up. At least 50 feet, I would say.
Yeah.
And again, he's continuing to talk with negotiators. He's got negotiators to his right, to his left. There are people actually on the other side of the train. I cannot see, but I do see multiple officials from the negotiating team walking over to the other side of the train. Now, the rescue squad truck actually just pulled away right now. Now, granted, there are still many officials here on the actual ground, but I think they may be continuing to switch out shifts because, again, this has been the scene since around 2 o'clock this morning or so. That's what we're getting reports of.
Well, and the hope was that, you know, the people talking to him, trying to negotiate with him would find a way to get him to calm down and eventually comply and get into that cherry picker. But as we, again, reframe to look at him up there, he still looks pretty agitated. I don't know if they're any closer to getting him down than they were when we first started reporting this story about an hour ago. Correct, and his mood seems to be the exact same as it was earlier this morning when we got here. But the good, consistent thing, I guess, that I can say is he is talking with negotiators pretty frequently, and that has not stopped over the last hour that I've been here.
And he's still talking to himself, too, though, yeah?
I don't know that he's talking to himself because he's looking directly at the negotiators. At first, when the truck wasn't there, and I don't know if our cameraman can zoom out to show you the negotiators that are down below him.
Yeah, we see.
You can see, so they're looking up, talking to him, and he's looking down, talking to him. But on the opposite side of him, he's also got people. There was one moment where he was yelling a couple of things. I could not understand what he was yelling, but he was just yelling it in a general direction and vicinity. And I did ask for an update if we have, I mean, obviously there's not going to be any ETA. It's it's very much in his hands as to when he's going to come down. But the only thing he continues to do is move up, down. Now he seems like he's tying his shoe, but he's not walking. So
thank you, Michael. So dangerous, not just because the electricity, him climbing up there, the whole thing.
Possibly falling.
Right. So we'll keep an eye on that. What you want to know about is how it's going to affect your commute and what Caltrain is doing.
Yeah, they got a bus bridge in place. So let's get to the traffic center. Raina Harvey can walk us through all of that. Raina?
Yeah, that's right. That bus bridge is something you can take. You can catch that right at the 4th and King station, and that's going to take you to 22nd Street. Remember, 4th and King station completely shut down right now because of what's going on. Inbound and outbound services are suspended, and there's no power going to that station because PG&E had to cut it for the safety of that man. You can take BART, you can take the ferry, you can even take the Muni, but stay away from 4th and King while they continue to handle this situation right there. Also, Michael Thomas mentioned the area around that station. You have a lot of people stopping to look, so there's a little congestion going on there.